Belgium have not had a very good tournament so far, and it seems to be getting worse not only on the pitch but off it as well, where they seem to be imploding. A lot of reports fighting amongst the players. It all started with this press conference from Kevin De Bruyne when he was asked whether or not Belgium could win the World Cup. No chance. We're too old. I think our chance was 2018. We have a good team, but it is ageing. After the defeat against Morocco, Jan Vertonghen made reference to that, saying we probably also attack badly because we are too old. That must be it now, surely. There were then reports that Lukaku had to separate Eden Hazard and Kevin De Bruyne from fighting with Vertonghen. Eden Hazard then addressed this, saying, we didn't fight. Jan is taller than me. Nothing happened in the dressing room after the Morocco defeat. Everything said about it is not true. We told each other lots of things, good and bad. Some things might not have been popular with some players, but they had to be said. Thibaut Courtois, who apparently smashed a bench in the dressing room, came out and said the problem is that too many lies are spread. A situation is described that doesn't exist. Everyone has openly expressed their opinion. Now we have to take action on the field. Roberto Martinez says, yes, there is tension in the group. It's natural. If you don't have tension or disagreement in a family, it's because you don't have emotions. Let's welcome back, shall we? Mario, it's not the Dutch falling out. That's a bonus.
Yeah, definitely. You know, like our camp, I think it's also because of Van Gaal. You know, he's more in control, and he picked exactly who wouldn't give him any problems, because that's why he selected it accordingly. But back to the Belgium one. Wow. You know, like Martinez was my coach when I was at Wigan, so that's why I know him personally as well. And the way they're going through it, because they like throwing bombs at each other. And yeah, I mean, I when I was at Wigan, I had a similarity with him. When we got beat by Spurs one time, I think it was a 9-1 or something. And I came to the club, and I went to his office straight away, and I sat down, and I never saw my coach in my life the way I saw him. He was in a shock. I was like, wow, what do you do now? I'm the captain of the team. So I said to him, you know what? I'm going to go down. Can I have a meeting with the team? So I sit down, we have a meeting. I said, we're going to decide to pay the money back to the fans, because we needed the fans that whole season. So I sit down with the team. He was outside because I didn't want him to be part of the group, the coach. So I sit down, had the conversation. So after the conversation, when I had with the team, I had a chat with him. And I asked him, I said, sometimes you got to put your foot down. And you know what he said to me? He said, some people cannot handle it. So I got to be accordingly to see how I handle every individual. So now this is happening. I'm like, okay, he's probably handling every individual again. Because, look, we're not talking, this is beyond what a lot of people forget sometimes. What you achieve as a coach is one thing, but you also have to remember, you're in a camp of egos, and you better know how to handle them. And if you don't sometimes put your foot down and you just keep it nicely, they will walk right over you, and they won't even hear you. And it sounds like nobody's listening.
Stock's falling.
Well, he's got some big decisions to make ahead of this Croatia game, and that's not just up front, midfield or at the back, and it's not just the shape, because it's a back three, then it was a back four, Castaño's at left back, but we know where one of the main talking points is going to be. There is no way in the world, in my opinion, that he can go into this Croatia game with Eden Hazard in the first 11, and it's not even a difficult conversation. Although I know Stevie's touched on this before, he made him captain. That's his problem now, right? It's not even a difficult conversation with Eden Hazard. Look, you're not playing well with your club. You haven't played with your club. You haven't played well here. You can't last anywhere even close to a full match, maybe an hour. In that hour, you don't even offer a lot. That's his first port of call, and then he can work around the rest of the team, whatever he wants to do from there. But if he catches this Croatia team the way they responded against Canada, and I know they were poor, then this Belgium side, particularly with that Croatian midfield, are in big trouble.
It's interesting that Martinez makes reference to the team being a family, Jules. Obviously, France know all about families falling out as well. This is quite the story, isn't it? And quite something that it's being played out so publicly.
Yeah, this is incredible. I was at that game against Morocco, and before the game, we were hearing some rumours about the tensions already within that squad. Some players not happy with some of the players being called up by Martinez. I think some players feeling that the loyalty that Martinez has showed to some players, and they're easy to find. Craig mentioned Hazard, of course. I think Axel Witsel is another one. Of course, you go down Vertonghen and Alderweireld. And from the quotes that we showed earlier in this segment, there's one that we didn't mention, is the one that Hazard said on Thursday when he said, our defenders are old and slow. Pretty much that's what he said, which, again, didn't go down well. And I was told there was no fighting in the dressing room after that defeat against Morocco. However, words were exchanged. They had a meeting yesterday with all the players where they said things to each other that they had to be said. I just feel it's too late now. But you know there's something wrong when the press conferences today were supposed to be Carrasco and Arthur Theate, the young centre-back from Rennes. And then you get late last night an email from the press officer saying, actually, exchange is going to be Hazard and Vertonghen. So we're all thinking, ooh, nice. They're going to both come up and we can ask loads of questions about, hey, did you really fight? And then that changed again from Vertonghen to Courtois. And you know there's something wrong if Courtois and Hazard are coming to basically say, oh, this is not true, nothing happened, when we all know exactly what happened and we know that this is true, we know there's tension. Some players don't speak to each other. When you hear Trossard before the tournament saying, oh, I deserve to start here, when you know that clearly that's targeting a Hazard because they're playing the same position, you know things are not right. And I think when you approach a competition like this one, and there's all that tension within your squad, you can't perform on the pitch. It's impossible.
Mario, what are you shaking your head at?
Because it's so funny. It sounds like a big story, but come on. We all like, okay, maybe if not with Jules, but with, Craig and Steve. We all know when it comes to the dressing room, one thing you have a code, it's like a rule that you don't bring out. Whatever happens in the dressing room, you don't talk about it. You leave the problem in there and then come out and just pretend like nothing happened. But clearly something is happening. Come on, guys. Come on. Things cannot come out of your dressing room. One is saying about the speed. The other one is about the age. Your back line is what? 33, 35. Your top players, Hazard 31, De Bruyne 31. These numbers, it doesn't matter because I don't think that the numbers should be the biggest problem, but the only thing is how many have that number. That is the biggest problem because you're talking about Belgium. And Belgium was one of the top countries. When they started the World Cup before, everybody was talking about them. They said like, wow, this national team is full of talents. Even I was like, whoa, they're going to upset some people. And look what comes out. The next World Cup, now they fall out with each other. Because I think deep down, in every individual in the Belgium squad, they feel like we should have gotten more out of this than what we have done so far.
Part of your job as a coach is to smell the trouble before it kicks off.
Right. And
clearly Martinez hasn't done it. And particularly with the decision with Hazard, making him captain and playing him when he shouldn't be playing. A lot of it you have to look at.
But how do you get to the level that Martinez has without being able to make those decisions, without being able to communicate with your players like that?
But he's not dealt with those players before.
Right.
I'm talking
of that.
I'm sorry, but he wasn't dealing with De Bruyne and Vertonghen and Hazard at Everton. He just wasn't.
Right.
I mean, big players, but not world stars.
And when everything's going well, it's easy peasy. And he took over the Belgian side that we all thought should have done better, and that's why he got the job. So he's actually he's in a position that very few managers were in or get into. You take over a side who have the potential to win European championships and compete for World Cups. So that's a great place to walk into. But part of your job is to keep it that way. And clearly, he's not keeping it that way. Because when it erupts in the dressing room, it just doesn't happen overnight, Dan.
Right.
It doesn't.
It simmers and
it simmers, and as I said, you've got to be able to smell it. Right. He clearly hasn't smelt it. And again, I think we're really going to find out what he is made of when he picks this team. Because Hazard should not play. Right. And every person on the planet can see that Hazard is not at the level he should be. And if he plays, I think it'll say more about Martinez than anything else.
The bar was so low when he took over from a coaching perspective, not from a squad, because they have some great players. But Mark Wilmots just isn't a coach, right? And was managing the national team because he was a great player for them. But tactically, he had no clue. And so they go to a guy who had a decent CV. And it was OK for a while, but there's coaching and there's systems and there's all this, and then there's managing these big problems and big egos. They're going out.
Yep.
They're going out. I'm not turning this around because the players are not getting on, behind the scenes, it's probably a lot worse than we could even imagine. And when you're a guy that hasn't kicked a ball for 3 years, and you were once one of the best players in Europe, in Eden Hazard, and you're talking about defenders that can't run, when you can barely do 45 minutes, that's a huge problem.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.